So just to make sure that I am recording.
Yeah, it's come up there now.
It's come up there, yeah.
Okay. So just to say, Therese Glennon is my name. I'm one of the guidance counsellors with the ETB, and Eileen Dunn has asked me to host the Lunch and Learn event today. So hello and welcome to everybody who has joined us for this. And on behalf of Legion Offaly ETB, just like to welcome Josephine Rigney and Aisling Warburton from the HSE, who present to us today on ways to protect your mental health. Aisling is the Health Promotion Officer and Josephine is the Resource Officer for Suicide Prevention. And they both cover a huge geographical area. So we really do appreciate you giving us time today to come into LOETB and present to us. So I'm going to hand over to you ladies, and Aisling's going to go first. Are you, Aisling?
Yeah,
okay,
perfect. Thanks very much, Trace.
Okay.
So I'm just going to share, so just bear with me and just give me the thumbs up or let me know that it's up in front here.
That's
so can
perfect,
we see?
Aisling.
Is that all okay? Perfect.
Yeah.
And I might just stop my camera just to make sure connection is okay. So hi everyone, and thank you all for inviting us to be part of your Inclusion Week. So my name is Aisling Warburton, and I'm going to begin today with ways to protect your mental health. And then my colleague Josephine Rigney, who's Resource Officer for Suicide Prevention, will take you through the latter part of the presentation. So I suppose first and foremost, it is about ways to protect your mental health. And I know you're after coming from maybe a busy morning, a busy class, so do try and take the next 30-40 minutes to try switch off, leave the phones aside, leave the emails aside, and just focus on yourself for the next little while. So what we will look at today is the background and evidence, just a little bit around mental health and well-being, and some recent statistics that have come up. We will look at what we can do ourselves to protect our own mental well-being. And then Josephine will speak about suicide, the warning signs, and helping yourself and others. And we will also provide information on supports and resources that are available to you. So just mental health. So mental health has been defined as a state of well-being in which the individual recognizes their own abilities and is able to cope with normal daily stresses in life. And we've often heard the phrase, there is no health without mental health. And I think more so than ever, it is becoming more popular and common to speak about mental health, and people are beginning to be more aware of it and protect their own mental health. And it is something we all have. So just as part of October 10th, which was World Mental Health Day, the HSE launched its new mental health literacy campaign. This campaign was launched to promote and encourage people aged over 18 to recognise common mental health difficulties and find information and supports that are available. So in order to develop this campaign, a study was carried out, and it was found that 1 in 2 had a personal experience of a mental health difficulty. 1 in 3 cared for someone with a mental health difficulty. 1 in 3 didn't have experience with mental health, but difficulties like ongoing stress, low mood, anxiety, and sleep problems were all very common amongst people within the study. And I suppose for any of us here today, we all do experience those 4 difficulties from time to time. So the common mental health difficulties I just mentioned. So anxiety, this is a feeling of worry or fear that everyone experiences at times. Sometimes this can build up over time. And I suppose for ourselves, we just need to be aware of how much we can take on and be able to protect ourselves and know our boundaries. Stress, we all feel stress, and it is known that some stress is good. However, we need to be able to deal with that again and ensure that it doesn't get into too much of a difficult situation. These can often include relationship difficulties, work issues, and money worries. Low mood, everyone feels sad or low at some stage in their lives. A distressing event or major change in your life can affect your mood, but sometimes it's possible to feel low for no clear reason. And then another one, sleep. We've all heard that 8 hours is the recommended sleep, but I'm sure most of us here today, between our lives in work and lives at home, we do struggle to get those 8 hours at night. And it is very important because We work best when we do feel refreshed the following day. So the ideal amount is 8 hours, but everyone is very different. And just to mention, we have come out the other side, hopefully, of COVID-19, and things seem to have gone back to as fast-paced as they ever were, and maybe even more so than they were, because everyone's trying to catching up with events, catching up with work meetings. So just be aware of all of this, and don't be afraid to say no if something does come up and it's just too much on you. And then also there's the cost of living crisis as well. So just be mindful of these things and do be aware of protecting your mental health going forward. So what can I do to protect my own mental health? So there are a number of things we can do personally for ourselves, such as being kind to yourself, not to be afraid to say no. Take the time to yourself. When we go home from work in the evenings, leave work in the office, or if we work from home some days, leave it in that room. Self-help, what we will do today is look at a little self-care toolkit that we can what we can do ourselves that will look after our own mental health, and give yourself permission to look after yourself first. I know in stressful times, the things that make us feel good are often the things we do push aside or say, oh, I don't have time for that this afternoon. So be very aware that a self-care toolkit is very important. And then also remember, it is okay to seek support. There are so many supports and resources available out there. So please do seek any of the supports that we do speak about today. So just one of the main ones that we can do ourselves is self-care, and this refers to the activities and practices we deliberately choose to engage in on a regular basis to maintain and enhance our mental health and well-being. So just before we do look at some self-care tools, just think back on the week gone by. Can you think of an evening or something you did one of the days that looked after your own self or was a little self-care practice for you? You don't have to share it with the group, but just be mindful of this. And maybe if it was one of those weeks that you put off your evening walks or put off your hobbies, that maybe prioritize them next week. So here's just an image of different types of self-care. There are a number of ways to practice self-care. Do what you enjoy, and one size does not fit all. I know during COVID, home baking was very popular. Everyone was out for 5-kilometer runs. We don't have to do the common things. We just have to do what we enjoy and the things that we can maintain and sustain going forward. So just some examples: your physical self-care, prioritizing good sleep, going for a walk, maybe taking part in some yoga. Your social one, know your boundaries, have your support systems in place, and have social media sometimes can be filled with negative stories. Try and eliminate that from your screen time and just look at the positive stories out there. Then I'm just going to also refer to work. Try have your time management in place. I know it can be easier said than done some days. Just know your work boundaries. Like I said, leave work within work when we can, and just have a positive workplace. I know it's great already to see that Inclusion Week has been brought into LOETB, and just to try keep that ongoing going forward. So then we have another thing within the HSE, and you may have been noticed through Mental Health Ireland, and a lot of different organisations take on the focus of 5 ways to wellbeing, which are take notice, connect, be active, give, and keep learning. And these are things that kind of build our self-care toolkit. So one of them is take notice. Paying attention to the present moment, your own thoughts, and the world around you can improve your mental well-being. Notice the little things and appreciate them. Reconnect with your body and take notice of what you are doing. So take the time to go for a walk in nature, leave your phones behind you. Keep a gratitude journal. Some people are, every morning they might wake up and write down the 3 things they are most grateful for. And then when we take our lunch and our dinner time at home or in work, savor the food. Try and leave your laptop aside or your phone aside and just be there present in that moment. Keep learning. New skills can positively affect your mental well-being. Learning something new can boost your confidence, self-esteem, and give you a sense of purpose. And then when it comes with learning a new skill, often we do this as a group, so we are also connecting with others. So you have DIY projects, be creative, or sign up to that course or hobby that you have been putting off for the last while. Connecting, building positive relationships with our family and friends, colleagues, and wider social circle is very important. Is there a friend or a colleague you have been meaning to call or catch up with? You will feel happier, more secure, and a greater sense of purpose when you do connect with these people. Life can sometimes get in our way. However, prioritize these relationships, going back to having that social support, having that positive support within your life. So some examples of bringing in connection into your self-care toolkit would be use the time you spend on social media to talk to someone. Join a club, leave your desk at lunchtime and meet your colleagues. I think we've all got into the habit since COVID of maybe working through our lunch, not going down to the staff canteen and connecting with our colleagues. Try and bring that back where we go, leave our desks and come back and meet with friends and colleagues. Organise a weekly or a monthly visit with a friend or a family member that you've been putting off for a while. Then we have be active. So we've all heard that physical activity is beneficial to both your physical and mental health. Physical activity releases serotonin, which is our happy hormone, and this promotes positive mood change. It's associated with greater sense of well-being and it lowers rates of depression and anxiety. So once we all know if we go out for a walk in the evenings or if we go to our yoga class, we do feel greater self-esteem, self-control, and the ability to rise to a challenge. And remember, some movement is better than none when it comes to being active. It doesn't have to be going for a 5-kilometer run. It can be just walking around your garden in the afternoons. So try and incorporate this through movement breaks throughout the day. Do something you enjoy, and 30 minutes moderate activity 5 days a week is the recommended daily activity for adults. And then finally, we have give. Giving is good for others, but it can also be good for you. Giving of your time to others can be helpful and strengthen relationships or build new ones. Any act of kindness, whether it's small or large, can make you feel happier and more satisfied with life. So just thank someone. Ask a colleague to join you for lunch. And volunteering has been another way of really giving back to the community. And it's also mean you're connecting with others and you're also learning new skills. So that is just a little part of our own self-care toolkit, what we can do ourselves and the ways to protect ourselves. However, like I said, it is okay to seek out further supports and resources which are available to us. So I'm just going to pick out the most common ones within the HSE and health and well-being we have. These are all readily available and free online courses for everyone, not just people working in the HSE. So firstly, we have our Stress Control Online, which is an evidence-based program that teaches you practical skills to deal with stress. It focuses on recognizing the signs of stress, how stress can affect our bodies and thoughts, and how it teaches skills to overcome panicky feelings and get a good night's sleep. The online classes are delivered by Dr. Jim White, who's an expert in stress management, and they can all be accessed through www.stresscontrol.ie. They run very frequently, so I write every 4 to 6 weeks. You have a certain time period to access the online programs, but they're very, very worthwhile. Then we have also the Minding Your Wellbeing program, which is an evidence-based program for the public focusing on the promotion of mental well-being. There are 5 videos that focus on practicing self-care, understanding our thoughts, exploring emotions, building positive relationships, and improving our resilience, and they're also available on hsc.ie. At the moment, the programme is only delivered face-to-face to people within the HSE, but I do envisage in the very near future that this will be broadened out to people in the community, and there are already elements of that starting. So some workplaces are maybe being delivered a self-care session, so don't be afraid to contact us afterwards if this is something you'd like within your workplace. So I've already mentioned the yourmentalhealth.ie campaign, which was launched on October 10th. This can also be accessed online, and the aim is to improve people's mental health literacy skills. It enables people to recognise and manage their mental health, support others when they need help, and identify and respond to difficulties. Be aware of when to refer themselves or someone else to health professionals. And you can get all this information if you go onto the HSE website and look for yourmentalhealth.ie. And then one of the final ones that has become really popular in recent years is social prescribing. This connects you with activities and supports in your area. It aims to reduce social isolation and improve mental health and well-being. It can also enable and support people to access health services such as smoking cessation, self-management support, and programs and other programs that are available. So it generally involves a key component with a referral from a healthcare professional consultation with a link worker and an agreed referral to a local community activity. It is available for everyone 18 plus. And I know there's definitely a social prescriber link worker based with OLDC, and I can share those information afterwards if anyone would like them. And then these are just some other supports that are available within the HSE. They're not directly linked to mental health. However, by incorporating these supports, it's also protecting our mental health as it ties back into our self-care toolkit. So there's free HSE exercise videos for everyone. They range from Pilates, yoga to strength and conditioning, and they're all available throughout the year on the HSE Health and Wellbeing website. We have the Living Well program, which is a program for adults with long-term health conditions. So anyone aged 18 plus can access this program. It's currently been delivered online in CHO 8 area, but the face-to-face will be resuming soon. And although it's not specific to mental health, we all know if you are diagnosed with a chronic long-term condition, our self-esteem and confidence can sometimes take a hit, and this program just builds those self-management skills to live well with your health condition. START is another healthy eating campaign focusing mainly on young children. However, it does give us the information and guidance around our healthy balanced diet. Ask About Alcohol.ie, our healthy eating and active living program, which once again bring in all the basics that we need to do to bring into our self-care toolkit. And then we also have a free stop smoking service that is now available in both Laois and Offaly, where people within the community can access free nicotine replacement therapy and free behavioural support. And it is a 12-week program. So initially you link with your advisor for 6 weeks and they will follow up with you throughout the rest of the program. And it's a new service based in Laois, in Port Laois, and then in Offaly, both in Tullamore and Birr. So as I'm very mindful that you're an education training board, so I just wanted to put some information on the support trainings and resources for education. They range from some primary school resources up to secondary school. So we have Zippy's Friends, which is a teaching, coping and social skills for primary school students. Mind Out, which is a social emotional learning framework program for post-primary schools. The Healthy Eating Policy Toolkit, which is a training that is available again for teachers and similar to Know the Score, which focuses on alcohol and drug abuse. All these programs can be registered for on intos.ie through the HSE. And after this presentation, I will email all of you with the information to sign up to these courses. And then on healthpromotion.ie, there's a number of resources that can support you through SPHE resources, parents resources, but they're also very relevant for anyone that does deal with young people. So just the junior cycle SPHE resource, there's 5 main modules at the moment, and then with a further 7 to be launched in 2023. And then the parents resource, which all can be downloaded on healthpromotion.ie. So that was just a whistle-stop tour of ways we can protect our own mental health, but also what's readily available within the HSE, just to give us that little boost and encourage us to protect our mental health going forward. So if there's any questions, I'm happy to take them afterwards or in the chat box. And I'm going to now pass you over to my colleague, Josephine Rigney. I'm just going to stop sharing. That's stopped for everyone.
Yep, I think so, yeah. Right, do I come in now? Yes. Sorry, Therese, I was waiting on you to say something there.
Oh,
That's
sorry, yes,
No.
I'm smiling and nodding instead, Josephine. Yes, absolutely, if you're ready.
Okay.
Go.
Yeah. So good afternoon, everybody. I will just share my slides now in a moment, and I suppose what I'm going to focus on is that's a continuation really of what Aisling did, because obviously, as we know, there is a very much a link between, oh dear, sorry now, this always happens, doesn't it? My my presentation is not coming up in my window. Just bear with me a second.
It's okay, take your time, Josephine. I can't hear Josephine now. Can you, Aisling?
No. Take your time to get set up, Josephine. If anyone has any questions and they want to put them in the chat box for me in the meantime, I can answer them. If anyone wants to come off mute, I'm happy to answer questions on what I've spoken about.
As you were speaking, Aisling, I was thinking of, sometimes when you see resources or when you're at something like this, and because we deal with learners so much, I'm always thinking of that would be a really good link to send to somebody. And I suppose constantly having to remind ourselves that we run our own batteries very low, especially this time of the year. We're heading towards midterm break, and it's that reminder to look after ourselves first. And yes, there are loads of resources that then we can share with our learners, but charge up your own battery as you go as well.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Something
was a
we
good
all
reminder.
have to be mindful of. And it does. It gets pressed aside very easily if something does become too stressful. Josephine, I still can't hear you. I can share my presentation with everyone afterwards, Trace, if I can circulate it to yourself and Eileen, and then that can be circulated throughout, and I can add in links.
Absolutely. That was one of the questions there from one of the participants. Could you share the presentation, which would be great? Yeah, absolutely. And there's another resource that somebody has suggested as well, is the Mind Out.
Yeah, it's a really good post-primary program that is delivered, and there are trainings readily available for teachers and people in education settings. And the way you're registering for them now is through N2s. It's a new online booking system, but when I'm sending out a presentation, I can send all those details as well. Just all these new registration systems online. There's be teething problems with them all, but we're getting there with them.
Yeah, absolutely. Josephine you still can't hear you, Josephine. I
was going to say, would we do the log out, which could shoot, but then.
Okay, so I'll wait and let Josephine back in, and hopefully we'll.
Hi everyone, I'm only after getting an opportunity to join here now. Poor Josephine's been experiencing difficulties, has she?
Just when she was ready to go.
Oh, typical. Hi Aisling, lovely to meet you. I hadn't met you before.
Thank you.
No, please God, we'll have more luck with Josephine. Hi Josephine.
I logged myself.
Yes, we can hear you.
Eileen has joined us now as well, Josephine.
I logged out and logged back in again. So
excellent.
Maybe
now the magic log out and log in. Excellent.
Would you make me a co-host again, Trace, if you don't mind?
I sure will. Yep.
Because it won't let me share there.
That's okay. Now, Josephine, are you seeing that?
I am. Yes. So let's see if this works.
Fingers and toes crossed.
No, it's not. It's still not coming up. But we have a plan B. Aisling, you have them, don't you? Thank the Lord.
Fingers crossed. It works for me now.
Because it's not coming up on my. I can't even see the PowerPoint there. So that's
And it absolutely worked perfectly earlier on, but this is just the way it goes.
The gremlins in the system, honestly.
Yeah. And we
Can
tried
you-
it last week, Josephine. It worked perfectly.
It did. I know. It did. I know. Yeah. But there's nothing coming up, is there? No.
Yeah, Aisling, it came up a second.
It did, it's gone again, is it? I'll go once
Yeah.
more. Just let me know if
Yes, it's there, isn't it? Is it there for me anyway?
Yes, it's there, yes.
Oh, we need permission to share your screen. Is that no, that's okay, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Right. So are we, you're okay then, Aisling? With
Yeah.
that? Great. And
Yeah.
I'll just give you, I'll say roll it there, Colette, whenever
I'll just make sure it's
Two, one.
moving now before we. Yeah, no, perfect. Go ahead, Josephine.
Okay, great.
I can't hear Josephine. Can anyone
Josephine,
else?
your sound has just gone again.
We can't hear you, Josephine.
There's nothing I can do from my end, Eileen, no.
I don't think so. I'm trying to see if
No.
I can do it as well, but it doesn't seem to be giving me any options. I'm just going to hit mute and then unmute just to see if that will work.
Yes, Josephine, we did hear you for a little while.
No, it's not.
Have you a headset at all, Josephine, that you could pop on? I hope everybody's sitting comfortably and having their lunch while we get these.
Unfortunately, that's the problem with the technology. Sometimes they let us down, isn't that it? But hopefully now Josephine will be able to get working there now. Any joy, Josephine? Still not working. Oh, no, we still can't hear you. Has Josephine left again? Do you want to try logging out and logging in again, Josephine? Sorry now, this doesn't seem to be working at the moment.
Okay, I'll let her back in.
Perfect.
Poor Josephine, and she was.
Poor Josephine, it's so stressful when this happens, isn't it?
Myself and herself even ran through it earlier this morning as well.
You're not serious, Aisling.
And we've been chatting away fine since
Right
about
up
1:45.
until,
Yeah, absolutely. I'll let her in now and
There we go.
make her presenter again.
Can you hear me now?
Perfectly.
Yes, Josephine.
Oh my God. Okay.
Poor
Josephine,
so
do you know
stressful.
if I don't make you presenter maybe and just let you talk and Aisling do the PowerPoint, maybe.
Just to see. Yes.
Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't
We
test
won't
it.
jinx it. Stay
We
going.
won't jinx it. Yeah. Okay, great. So you can hear me. So
Yeah.
anyway, hello everybody again. So Aisling, yes, was bringing us through really the mental health components, and I suppose we can all agree that there is a connection between mental health and suicide. And sometimes while we may think that's a big jump to go from, you know, our mental health and our emotional well-being and the levels that is, and how we maintain that to suicide, and potentially something getting to that point where they are very distressed and vulnerable, and unfortunately may have thoughts of ending their lives. But Eileen did ask me to focus on that a little bit, because it may be something that that it is, you know, that you've become aware of in relation to your students. I appreciate some of you may have already done some training in some of our training programs safe talk or assist, or even the understanding self-harm. But what I'm going to do really is just a whistle stop here tour really in relation to suicide and some of the warning signs, and then a section on the resources that are available, and also then a piece around the training courses that are available to all to participate in them. Aisling, if you don't mind then going on to the next one. Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yep.
So when we're looking at suicide prevention, there's three elements we look at. We look at the prevention, the intervention, and the postvention. And the prevention really is what Aisling was talking about there. You know, what are the protective factors in relation to suicide, and you know, they include keeping ourselves well, keeping ourselves active, all those you know, physically well, emotionally well, socially well, having lots of support in our family, in our networks, and all of that. And then the other part is obviously looking at the prevalence of the reduction of the prevalence of risk factors. So what risk factors may be in a person's life, and that can include stress, and we know and anxiousness, and we know that stress can lead to distress, and the presence of anxiety can lead to depression. Maybe not to the point of clinical depression, but definitely to a point perhaps of, or potentially to a point of mild depression. So it's looking at those from our own point of view, as well as looking at how are we protecting ourselves and minding ourselves to negate any you know, potential of allowing ourselves getting to that distress point. And then of course the last piece in relation to the whole area of suicide prevention is just that postvention piece, which is unfortunately looking at the supporting of families who unfortunately may have lost a loved one to suicide, and providing that support to them, which the HSE do in conjunction with PIATA. So some of the, Aisling, yes please, some of the causes of suicide. Look, there's no answer to this, as we all know. There's a myriad of causes, and it's very individual. They often complex and multiple in nature. Sometimes we think that there may be just one reason, but and in some cases there may be, of course, some big challenge or struggle or whatever has happened in a person's life may unfortunately bring them to that point. But more often than not, there can be a number of risk factors and complications and challenges which maybe a person may be encountering in their life. So there can be a number of stressors, and that can be work related, home related, you know, just socially, all of those, and they can combine to perhaps put a person in a more position of the risk will be increased. Obviously, if a person is encountering mental illness, a diagnosable mental illness such as depression or schizophrenia or bipolar disorder, or any of those borderline personality disorders, these obviously may be affected as well. What was that? Something, I don't know, it's gone anyway. Did you hear it? It's okay. I will go on. You can still hear me, can you? Please
Yes,
tell me when you can't.
You're fine.
And then obviously, as I said earlier, and as Aisling outlined, the presence of certain protective factors, such as that ability to access and access help, can decrease a person's risk. And that's really important from the point of view of giving out knowledge, and sometimes just promoting the available resources can reduce that stigma in relation to people linking in with services and supports that are there to provide help. We often find that, you know, the more if we put up some of our posters in centres like your own, or in shopping centres or anything like that, you'd often find people taking photographs of them, because, you know, they may be bringing them home to members of their family, or they may access them in their own privacy. So knowing that there is supports and services there, that increases people's ability and willingness to link in to the services that may be there that are there to help them. Just the next one there, Aisling, please. The key risk factors in relation to potentially somebody being in a vulnerable position in their lives, and potentially seeing no other option for themselves but to end their life through suicide. And these are the key risk factors. Obviously, they're not the only ones, and as I said earlier, it's very individual. What pertains in a person's life, and may unfortunately bring them to that point in their life is very individual to each and everybody. So a previous suicide attempt, if we're aware, and particularly, I suppose, if you were being concerned about some of your students, if you were aware that somebody had made a previous suicide attempt, thankfully, that it's the statistics in relation to somebody making a previous suicide attempt is that most people will get that support. They, for every one person who unfortunately dies by suicide, we know that there are 20 suicide attempts. So that's positive in that those people have got support. They've got help to get through the crisis, and they're now living fulfilling lives again. But if we know that somebody has unfortunately been in that place and they have made a previous attempt, it's always just a risk factor that we need to be aware of and to consider, particularly if we notice that they may be going through other challenges in their life now as well. If somebody is going through any of those things that Aisling mentioned, such as anxiety or extreme stress, or a challenge, or maybe a relationship breakup, or a difficulty in work, or a bullying episode, or any of those things that may be pertaining in a person's life, these can all be risk factors as well. Their drug and alcohol use or misuse, and whether that pattern has changed, whether has developed to a point where there's addiction or an overdependency on either drugs or alcohol, or even maybe experimenting with different drugs. These also can be key risk factors as well. If a person is feeling quite hopeless, that they're not able to perhaps fix the situation that they may find themselves in, that there's a sense of isolation or loneliness and lack of social support. And as we know, that's, we're all human beings. We want to be to feel valued, to feel integrated, to feel supported. But unfortunately, with the last preceding years of COVID, there may be a decrease in that now. The people may not feel that they want to reach out to others, because maybe, as Aisling said, very much so, the pace of life has got very fast now, and sometimes people may think, gosh, people they're too busy for me to check in with them, or to meet up, or suggest we meet up. But we all need that support. We all need to feel at that sense of belonging, and it's so important. And if we notice that somebody is withdrawing and leaving them very much themselves isolated, it can be something to be concerned about as well. That stigma associated with help-seeking behaviour that I spoke about earlier, and unfortunately we find that that's very much something in relation to males. I was doing a presentation recently in AIT, and there were psychology students, and something that what they raised, particularly the males there, was that men are very insular. We don't like to reach out for help. So there is that little bit of hesitancy in relation to males about seeking help and looking for assistance. So it's and whatever each and every one of us can do to reduce that stigma, to normalize the fact that it's okay to seek help, and to say, look, I'm struggling here. Anything we can do to reduce that stigma is very, very helpful. If somebody is encountering and enduring going through having a major physical illness or chronic pain, you can appreciate how that would be a key risk factor for them also, and maybe that constant living with that chronic pain can impact on a person's well-being and the state of their mental health. And life situations, then, whatever has gone on in a person's life, whether any life events, loss of a job, relationship, or even having the access to the means, all these things can be risk factors as well. And then the barriers to available help, and whether that's physical assistance or mental health, and if these are not available, these can also be a risk factor. Aisling, if you don't mind, please. So just to put them all into a context, I'm not saying each and any one of us could be going through, experiencing any of those risk factors to some extent in our life, but it's when we sort of put it together, and you can see here on the biopsychosocial model where you can see, say, if we look at as an individual having all of these 4 components in our life. So if a person has some negative social factors pertaining in their life, if there's some genetic vulnerability, that there may be to some mental illness within their family, or to physical illness, or any that may be pertaining in their family, that might place them in a higher risk situation. Or if there's sometimes it can come down to their personality. You know, are they a person that's very impulsive? Are they a person that's quite negative, or self-critical, or pessimistic, or even aggressive? Sometimes all of these things can add up to, unfortunately, placing a person in more of a high risk situation. Concerned about somebody else and we're looking at them, maybe that's how we can have that sort of helicopter approach and look at somebody and say, well, maybe there is something that we need to be concerned about there. Yes, thanks, Aisling. The next one, what our research tells us, that sometimes there is maybe a triggering effect, you know, a triggering event that may have happened in the month prior to a suicide, that may precipitate people having unfortunately made that decision to end their life. And you can see them here, you know, if there's significant life change, a significant loss. And of course, losses, they're very individual, and the meaning of that loss can be very individual to each and every one of us. A relationship loss could be have less significance to somebody else. If there's exposure to suicide, obviously can be very traumatic for people, if people have gone through a traumatic event as well. So these are all just precipitating factors that the research would point to the fact. And obviously, if we're going to be concerned or have a watchful eye for members of our family, or people that we're working with, or people as the students that you may be taking care of, these are maybe some things just to be mindful of. So thanks, Aisling. The next one, I'm just conscious of the time as well. I need to just move on a little bit. So these are just the warning signs. Again, in and of itself, all of these, it doesn't mean that somebody may be, unfortunately, at that point where they may be considering ending their life, but it's the changes that are considered unusual and out of character. And usually it's within a 2-week time frame. If we've noticed that maybe somebody is you know, we know they've gone through a particularly challenging period in their life, or something has happened, and we notice maybe behavior changes or physical signs, or maybe that they're experiencing certain feelings, or they're being very pessimistic or very self-critical. And over a period of two weeks, we've noticed that their mood is down, and all of these behavior changes and physical changes may be present. It's not, as I always say, it's not that there's a big red flag over their head saying, gosh, suicide is potentially a risk or something that we need to be concerned about, but it may be just telling us, maybe we just need to check in with that person. I wonder, is everything okay with them? How you know, how are they feeling? And it may just give us the clue to check in and check it out with them, and maybe give them the opportunity to talk about what is going on in their life. And obviously, Aisling, if you don't mind going on to the next one. It's stuck. Keep hitting it. I think that one always tends to get stuck for me sometimes.
It's stuck.
There's gremlins in the system. No, keep going. Sometimes I do have to hit this slide about 5 times to get it going.
There we go.
There we go. Yeah. Thank you very much. And then if we are perhaps concerned with that those warning signs may be present, and then we're hearing these statements as well. And again, on a bad day, any of us may say those, but but off the cuff. But it's the context. If we're seeing some of the warning signs, we're hearing some of these statements, and maybe we're hearing them over a little bit of a length of time, over that 2-week period. Oh, my problems will end soon. There's, things will never get better. I can't do anything. There's no point in trying. There's no point in coming into college. There's no point in doing these assignments, whatever. Maybe that might give us an opportunity, or not an opportunity, but an inclination. Maybe I just need to, or an indication. Maybe I just need to have a conversation with somebody here as to check in on how they are. And the next slide, then, Aisling, if you don't mind. Is that stuck as well? No. And these are the steps then. Very quickly, these are the steps. And I appreciate that this, there's obviously a lot more learning around going through all of these steps. And this is why we do offer the training courses that I'll refer to now in a moment. But very quickly, these would be the steps. And you can't go too far wrong if you go through these steps. To take all the threats seriously, acknowledge, how the person is feeling, acknowledge for yourself as well, give yourself the credit that you've noticed that they're not themselves, and you've noticed all those warning signs. Take an opportunity to link in with them, to talk, you know, let them, sometimes it's about staying quiet yourself and letting them talk. Encourage them to express their feelings if you can, offer support, then remove anything that may be unfortunately the means. Don't leave them alone, don't promise confidentiality, all of the things that you do know. And I appreciate you may have guidelines and procedures within your centres as to how you would link somebody in if you were concerned about them. But these are just the steps that if you follow, you can't go too far wrong. You may get to the point where you may have to ask the question as well. And Aisling, if you don't mind, and sometimes that's something that this is just a piece of active listening, and I do acknowledge that I don't have to tell any of you how to listen properly, because that's part and part of what you do. So if you don't mind, Aisling, going on to the next one. And just asking about suicide, it is a difficult question to ask. We know it's important to ask it clearly and not judgmentally, and also to ask it in a direct way. You ask a direct question, you get a direct answer. And these are just examples of how you would ask. It's always good to, you don't have to include suicide in the question, but you do have to include, you know, the finality in it. So you could ask, you know, are you thinking of ending your life? How you ask is so important, because if you ask, and you ask clearly and directly to a person, what that is telling to the person is, gosh, maybe this is somebody that can help me. But I do acknowledge it's a hard question to ask. And sometimes we don't have to go, if we feel that we just, for whatever reason, we just don't want to ask that question, it's enough if we encourage that person to link in with somebody who will be in a position to ask the question, and somebody maybe in a profession, or somebody else within your organization who is that designated liaison person. So then the next question, one, Aisling. These are some of the training courses that some of you may be aware that we now offer. Living Work Start is an online program, an hour and a half, that we introduced during COVID. And I will show you the booking links to that in a moment, how you can avail of that. Safe Talk is a 3-hour half-day program that we offer as well. And as you can see there, prepares participants to identify people who may be having thoughts of suicide, and how you can connect them then with those other resources that are available. Assist Then is a 2-day skills program, which brings that alertness and that awareness skills to another level, where you are in the position to help the person to put a plan in place to keep them safe. And then our Understanding Self-Harm course is very popular with parents and not parents, with teachers and lecturers and tutors like yourselves, because unfortunately this is something that I'm hearing from the education centres that is pertaining within education settings. So that we make those courses available, and they're all available there on you can see our booking website there, Suicide Prevention Midlands .ie, and I just can't.
Josephine, you're muted there for, if you
Right.
can unmute. Yes.
Yeah, sorry. Go on to the next slide, Aisling. Sorry. Did you were on? Yeah. Living Work Start, and that's the online program that I was talking about. And you can see the link there to our booking website, on which everything is listed. All of the Living Work Start, the Safe Talk, Assist, and Understanding Self-Harm, all of those are listed there, and the dates and the venues. And if anybody wants to participate in any of those training programs, you're very welcome, of course. And the next slide, Aisling. I'm very conscious of the time. Aisling would have focused on all of those, and I referred to them earlier, the key protective factors, all of these strong professional relationships, and good lifestyle practices of coping and well-being, and all of those. And I won't go into them too much, because Aisling has already focused on them, but they are very, very important in relation to protecting ourselves. We yeah, that's grand, Aisling. You'll probably be aware of the Green Ribbon campaign, which was going through the month of September, and that's an initiative in relation to creating awareness in relation to mental health and reducing that stigma. And World Suicide Prevention Day as well was on the 10th of September. And there's the mental health literacy pack that initiative, and a recent pack that was issued on the 10th of October that Aisling referred to, and it's accessed on your mental health, and it focuses on stress and anxiety and mood and sleep. And the next one then, yourmentalhealth.ie, that's the website, and there's lots more information on that website. You know, if you were concerned about somebody, if you were concerned and you wanted to get more information about minding your own mental health, or older people's mental health, or young people's mental health, there's lots and lots of information there. And it also has a lot of information about the various supports that are available, whether they're online or face-to-face, and all of that there. And there's a helpline number there as well that you can avail of. Within our services, and within the HSE and within the community, all of these services are available. Smartens, PHA Childline, you'll be well aware of all of these. Primary care and the community support centre, psychology and family resource centres, all of those. And then within the HSE, the specialist mental health services as well, which needs a referral for GP. And thanks, Aisling. The next one. And all of these services are available as well, funded by the National Office for Suicide Prevention. Some of them you may be aware of. Text about it 50808 is something that probably you're aware of as well, because I believe they've linked in with all the third level institutions in relation to for, you know, that it's available for anybody really, but primarily it's accessed by the 18 to 35 age bracket. And how you access that service is text hello to 50808, and they're qualified facilitators that's there 24 hours of the day to provide any support, all support with any mental health difficulties or challenges that people may be experiencing. And again, Aisling, these are our own resources. You're probably familiar with this, with the posters that we have and listing all of our services. And the next one, Aisling, is just our little postcard as well that we have available. And if anybody wants a supply of those for any of your centres, we're happy to send those out to you. And all of the services that I've just outlined are there. Spunout.ie is a very good website as well. Has a lot of supports there for young people and younger adults as well. And Aisling, the next one, just a little bit on helping people with their loss, which is very important. And within the Midlands here, we avail of the services of the Suicide Bereavement Liaison service that PHA provide, and it provides that emotional and practical support to anybody who has unfortunately lost a loved one to suicide, and indeed to friends as well and colleagues. And the person, and Aisling, the next one, the individual in our area is Bernie Carroll, and there's her details there. And anybody can self-refer into Bernie, and she provides that support to people. And again, Aisling, the next one, and these we have leaflets as well. So you can see there the name, but supporting someone bereaved by suicide, if anybody wants to avail of those. And just the last slide there, and I'm not going to focus on it too much, is what mental health is and isn't. And obviously we can send you a copy of all of these slides. But it's something that's very, very important, and we need to look after it. And the only person that can look after it is ourselves. It's not something we can give to somebody else to look after, or go to the doctor to look after. It's something that we have to do for ourselves. And it's the small things sometimes that we can do to maintain and promote our mental health. And the next one, Aisling, and this is just a slide to say, look, there's a lot of stuff going on at the moment. There's a lot of transition stages. You know, we're all going through transitions, and this fast pace of life, and it's more important that we do look after our self-care. And Aisling, the next one, and it's the little things sometimes that can make the difference, really. The sleep, and our, you know, linking in with people, adding friends to our tea, and all of that, which Aisling already spoke to you about. So I think that's me. And of course, yeah, the best six doctors, as they always say, and the sunshine and the exercise in the air and all of that. So yeah, that's it, I think. Thank you very much. Sorry for being a bit rushed, but I was conscious of the time and going over, and maybe all the little glitches.
Not at all, Josephine. That's absolutely perfect. And if you don't mind, do send on those slides to us, and I'll actually share those with everybody that attended today. Thank you so much for that, and thank you to Aisling as well. I think we have Tony there now. Tony, our director, is just going to say hello and goodbye to everybody for to finalise Inclusion Week.
Thanks, Eileen. Yeah, I'm. Can everyone hear me there? Yeah, I hope they can. Absolutely. I have my mic on anyway. Yeah. So look, yeah, and thanks to Josephine and Aisling there for the presentation. I managed to catch the last few minutes of it, and I kind of feel like a bit of an imposter because I haven't attended any of these this week. But look, I'm in the information hub in Portlaoise. We officially opened it this morning with Minister Fleming, and I think it's really appropriate that I'm talking to you from here, given that the fundamental reason for opening information hubs for learners is visibility and accessibility, and both key components, I think, of inclusion. And I think what we've done as an ETB, and what we're trying to do is ensure that inclusion and accessibility and visibility is at the forefront of what we're trying to do. Okay, thanks, Chris. It is one of the pillars of our FET service, of our ever expanding FET service, and you know, I think it's easy to measure services by numbers and metrics, and you know, our numbers are going through the roof. We'll have, I suppose, just under 15,000 beneficiaries this year, which is a 20% increase on last year. But I think critically, what we're seeing now is a growth in how people are linking and progressing from service to service. And I think that's the most important thing. It's not necessarily about bringing in the backsides on seats. It's about what people do and what we can do with them in terms of supporting them on their own pathway to whatever the outcome is, and allowing them to fulfill their potential. Look, I'm preaching to the converted. Our inclusion week has again been an enormous success. Eileen sent this to me this morning and I had to ask her and double check, was it right? 44 events and over 3,000 participants, beginning with our FET staff gathering on Monday and finishing with the talk and the opening of the information hub here today. It's an incredible week and it's an incredible achievement for a service our size, and you know, still the only ETB to dedicate a full week to inclusion events, and still the only ETB, I suppose, to have established inclusion as one of the key pillars of the service that we provide. Look, I suppose the challenge now for everybody is, how do you improve? How do you beat 3,000 in a week? And I'm not sure I have the answer, and thank God I'm not responsible for that answer. I would like to acknowledge, I suppose, firstly, all of the people who give up their time, such as Josephine and Ashley, to come on, support us in what we're trying to achieve, and everybody who participated, who contributed to what is now an organisation-wide event. So we had our post-primary schools, members of OSD, and our FET team all involved in it this year. And I think that can only help to really effectively try and make inclusion a key part of our culture as an organisation, because that's what we're trying to achieve. Look, Eileen and her team have done an amazing job and continue to do an amazing job in events like this, and not just events like this. These are events like Inclusion Week are you know, they're the nice piece that we do. They're the cherry on top of the icing, but they're not the cake. The cake is the bit that they're doing in every centre and service that we have to integrate literacy, community education, to create access points and allow people to potentially grow into a progression pathway through our centres and services. And I think that really has to be acknowledged. And, you know, just want to take this opportunity to acknowledge Eileen and the team, and then equally, and this isn't a case of thanking everybody, but it is because our centre managers and our service managers are open and receptive to this change, because our tutors and our teachers work outside their remit, and our support staff do the same. And you know, we were talking this morning here when Mr. Fleming opened the information hub about first impressions and about the critical importance of a first impression for a learner coming into further education and training. I think we're starting to address that in a really positive way, and I think that's why we're starting to see the results that we're seeing. As famous politicians may have said, a lot done, a lot more to do, but we are definitely headed in the right direction, and I am genuinely appreciative of all the work that the staff team do to continue to drive us forward as an ETB. So look, my really genuinely many thanks to everybody who is involved. It's a real pleasure to come on and okay, close it, but to talk about Inclusion Week in such a positive way, and how it has become such a positive part of our service. So Eileen, looking forward to next year and 5,000 and 5,000 and 70 events. But no, genuinely, look, really absolutely delighted to be part of this. It's been a brilliant week, another brilliant week for the inclusion team and for the service as a whole. So thanks very much and well done to everybody.
Thanks a million, Tony. And the great news is this year I remembered to record you. So I got all those lovely things you said in recording. And the reason Inclusion Week was so positive and so successful is because all of the centre service managers that got involved, the fantastic Lunch and Learn speakers that agreed to join us. So thank you to Aisling and Josephine again. Thank you so much to everybody who participated in all of the events. Really appreciate it. Take care. Thanks, folks.